I'm Alina, and I am Canvas and Conversation, and I am so glad that you're joining us today for another virtual paint session. So today we're going to do this mountain lake scene, and let's get started. So I'm going to start with my biggest brush, and just a lot of light white paint and a little bit of black. So that's going to give me this kind of winter gray. I know it's not winter, but I'm going to do a lot of white and a little bit of black. And I'm going to cover the top part of my canvas, but I'm going to do this in kind of a V-like area. So most of it's probably almost halfway, 2/3 of the way down, is going to be this light gray. Now, I don't like to mix one particular color. I like to have some variations in my colors and in my skies. And even this, I think I just picked up a little too much black, so the next time I'm just going to pick up white so it gets a little lighter. You'll notice that I'm doing my edges as I come to them, to the sides. I'm going to just work my way down here, and again, I'm just picking up a little bit of darker paint as I need to. A lot of white to create that sky. Now, I don't want to have big globs of paint. I want to smooth them out. This will also help kind of blending that in. But we want to cover the canvas. You don't want any canvas peeking through. I've got my top part there. Now, I'm not going to rinse my brush. I'm going to go straight to the blue, and I'm going to do this light blue-gray for my mountains. And I'm just going to pick up, in the same fashion, a little bit of blue and add that to that blue-gray that I've mixed, or to that gray that I've mixed. And that's going to give me a blue-gray here. And I'm going to follow kind of the same V where they're a little shorter here in the middle, and I'm going to put in some real generic mountain peaks. I'm just going to work my way. If they get too light for you, just add a little extra blue or a little darker gray. Everybody's is going to be different. Mine's going to be different from the original because I have yet to figure out how to paint it the same way twice. It's kind of the fun of painting. I'm going to do these real generic mountain peaks up here. Again, my sides. I can always add in a little extra if I need to. More overlapping that gray of our sky. I can come back with some that are just a little more white or a little more gray. It doesn't take a lot of black to make a good gray. We're looking for that blue-gray of our mountains here, so a little blue, little black, a lot of white. You can go a little darker on some of them if you want. I mixed a slightly darker shade. I'm going to come back and add in just some definition peaks. This is just a real simple beginner painting. And from there, now that I've got those kind of laid in, you can come back with a little white too if you want just little snow caps on there and just kind of dab that on your peaks. I know it's hard to talk about snow in June. Peaks on there. Just dab that in. And then I'm going to pick up just some straight blue. And I'm going to leave about an inch or so from my bottom. I'm going to put in my shoreline. And this is just a straight dark blue. You can even come back with a little black, so it's more of a midnight blue. And again, I haven't rinsed my brush, so there's still a lot of white and blue and gray in there. I'm just going to pick up some of that straight dark blue. And right around, I am going to think about where this sun is here. So if my sun's going to be here, right around in here, I'm going to leave a little bit of open canvas. It's not completely covered by blue where my sun's going to be, my reflection is. So I'm going to leave a little bit right in there. And then I'm pretty much going to use all the paint that's in my brush. Again, don't forget that edge. And I'm going to, before I pick up any more, I want to get all that out, that blue-gray. And the more I come towards the bottom, I want it to be a little lighter anyway, so that's where I want that blue-gray at. White, real light blue. And then I can come back with just some straight blue and add in some darker areas, or a little bit of blue and black together, which is a very dark midnight blue, and add in some darker ripples and some black around my shoreline, so it gets really dark here around the shoreline. Do your edge. Some there. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to flip my canvas upside down because I like to do these edges. If you're working flat on a table or something like that, you don't have to do that. But if I do that, then I can get this edge here. And I'm going to bring my blue down maybe just a little bit more, which now it's up, right? Just a little bit. Again, you can work your water, make it how you want your water to be. I've got most of that. If you still have a lot of white in your brush, go ahead and rinse that out. But if you don't, you just got very little color left in your brush, you're okay to go straight to the next color, which is just straight black. And I'm going to start up here on the very tip top now, which is really our bottom. We're going to put our grass in kind of backwards. But I'm just going to flip my brush down so that when it comes down to the bottom here, it just pulls away from the canvas and it leaves those brush strokes that look like grass. Now, you don't want it to be, this is not mowed grass, you don't want it all to be the same size, but you do want to cover so some are going to be a little taller, some here are going to be a little shorter, but you want to make sure that you're covering it where you're overlapping your blue. Again, it's not mowed grass. Edge. So once I have that, then I can flip it right side up again. And that just allows me to get that edge a little easier. Do some touch-up work wherever you need to, if you need it to be a little taller in some areas. And then I'm going to use just some straight black, and I'm going to pretty much the same manner, lay in my trees. I'm going to start at our water line. And again, I'm going to overlap into my mountains. And as I get to the edges, they're going to get a little higher, a little taller, right? They're not all the same size. And I want to make sure that I'm covering that canvas. I've got a nice water edge here. The sides are going to get a little taller. And you can come back and add a different brush stroke, maybe a dab, and that'll give you a different texture for the top of your trees. You can leave some that are just kind of sticks. So that we have these silhouettes of trees up here. I'm just kind of dabbing that in. And if you have a little black left, you can add some darkness to your water. I'm just barely, when I do this down here, I'm just barely touching the canvas of what's left in my brush. You can even pick up some blue if you see some spots that need to be touched up. However you want it to be. I'm going to put this really dark right in there. Alright, so now I'm going to take, and if you wanted to add some definition, I guess, in your mountains, you could do that as well. A little bit of that darker blue in there. Again, however you want to do. Alright, now I'm going to put my big brush in my cup of water and leave it there until I'm done, and that just helps out later when you go to clean your brushes that paint's not drying out in your brushes. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of orange and some white, and I'm going to mix that together to get a pale orange for my sun. And here's my reflection, so right up in here is where my sun's going to be. I always like to start kind of in the middle and work my way out. That helps me get a rounder, circles are hard, so it helps me keep that round. And I don't want it to be super small, I want it to be a little bit bigger. So maybe the size of a $50 or so. So a little bit bigger than a quarter. And then I can come back with just some straight orange, and along this bottom edge add a little bit of straight orange. I can blend that in so it's a little darker on this bottom edge. Make it feel rounded. And a little bit of white, straight white, along the top edge. So it's a little lighter. Again, to make that feel more of a sphere. And then I'm going to come down here in the bottom and add my reflection. And it's not a circle, it's a dab of light, right? A diffused dab of light. So once I've added that, you can add some straight orange as well. That orange and blue together, they are complementary colors and they're going to vibrate. And then you can even come back with a little bit of just blue and drag it across so that your blue overlaps. So if you want to add a little bit of that color in your water, you can add a little bit of that lighter color in your water maybe some streaks or highlights. If you get a little too much, just back it off a little. It's okay to use your finger. And alright, so the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a few little birds here, just to give us a little focal point that's not just this, just something a little extra. So some little grade school birds. Maybe one over here. And there you have it. Just a easy beginner painting for you guys to do of the reflection of the sun on the water, some mountains, and I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Thank you. you.